What is up, Instagram? Figured it was about time I addressed the elephant in the room. That is my torn bicep. My beautifully, mildly, slightly, not very, kind of torn bicep. I was going to make a video about this right after the Olympia, but I got the flu, I got sick, I was traveling, recovered, got bronchitis, was traveling, and it just wasn't on the top of my priority list. So here we are.
Activate.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. We've got some really big stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, Chris Bumstead in his latest Instagram post confirms that he did in fact win this year's Olympia with a torn biceps. So he says in this 10-minute video that essentially it was a very minor tear. He wasn't even sure if he tore it. He first noticed it the Wednesday before the weekend of the Olympia. So just days out is when he noticed some pain, he noticed some swelling, and he realized that something was wrong. He said, like, during his time on stage, it caused him a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress because all he could focus on was, are people going to notice? And he also says he doesn't know how, he doesn't know when exactly it happened, he didn't hear anything, he didn't feel anything when he was working out or whatever, and he just kind of attributes it to when you're that lean and that depleted, that close to a show, you're a little bit more susceptible to these injuries like a minor biceps tear like that. And I think this finally confirms the suspicion that we all had. I mean, if you look at the pictures of him on stage, you can clearly tell the arm without the tattoo, which has been a big point of contention about this. Because going into the show, a lot of people noticed an imbalance with his arms weeks out from the show. And initially, it looked like it would be the arm with the tattoo that was injured because it looked a little bit smaller than the other arm. Now, this could have been because the other arm was swollen from the injury. So initially, in a lot of Chris's gym pictures and physique updates or whatever, people suspected the arm with the tattoo was the one that was injured. But it's clearly not that arm. It's the other one. And Chris shows some pictures of that arm being swollen. And you can tell, no tattoo on that arm. And if you go over to the stage photos, you can clearly tell that the swollen and inflamed arm is the one without the tattoo. You can clearly tell that bicep peak is a little bit less defined. It's a little bit less peaked. It's a little bit longer looking just because of the inflammation. It's holding fluid. But this just goes to show how good Chris really is. He won the Olympia for the 4th time against one of the best challengers he's ever had, Ramon Dino at his all-time best, with a torn bicep. That's how good Hani Rambod brought him in from a conditioning standpoint, from a size standpoint. Chris's overall package, I think, was the best to date, even with this torn bicep. That is how good he is. And it's actually pretty funny. I made a short about this a week ago, how Chris won the Olympia with a torn biceps, and I cited my source, which I didn't believe in at first. It was a kid working at a restaurant, a server, that he claimed Chris came into his restaurant after the Olympia and he overheard Chris talking about having a torn bicep. That was my source, or my initial source. I had several other sources after that, but that was the first person that told me this. And initially, I didn't want to report it because it didn't seem like it was a very credible story. So I want to give that kid credit because he was telling the truth and he was right, and he overheard Chris really talking about a torn bicep right after the Olympia. So I want to make sure I give that kid credit because even though I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to get fired, or where he worked because I don't want him to get fired, you were right, buddy. So I want to give you props again in this video. And that even lines up with what Chris said in his video. Chris said he wanted to make a video about this and talk about this immediately after the Olympia. So this was something that was on his mind right after the show, like you said, at dinner right after the show where you heard him talk about it. But he said just because he got sick and was dealing with all this other stuff, it wasn't at the top of his priority list to talk about this. So, I don't know. It was cool that it came out this way. But even more impressive that Chris won with a torn bicep. Just think about that. Now, next up in the news, this is the big one. Nick Walker is confirmed in the 2023 Arnold Classic lineup. His name will be added to that list, and he will be attempting to regain his title this year. This announcement comes just after the massive announcement that the prize money for the Arnold Classic was going to be raised from $200,000 to $300,000, a $100,000 increase. And I told you guys, I think that is a really big deal. And I thought that today, the day that that was announced, there would be more names added to the lineup. And sure enough, that was the case. This is the second biggest prize money purse in the history of bodybuilding, almost on par with the Olympia prize money. And the lineup at the time was only 6 guys. Now with Nick Walker, it is 7. And I don't think that Nick Walker will be the last guy to announce he's joining this lineup. I feel like the fans kind of willed this into existence, because I've seen a lot of people saying that Nick Walker should do the Arnold Classic. A lot of the fans wanted to see him do it. I thought he would do it, even though he said no. And it looks like we were right. Nick Walker is doing the show. He hasn't competed there since he won in 2021, and he will be trying to regain that title. The Arnold Classic, in their announcement, said, "We are thrilled to announce that our 2021 Arnold Classic champion, Nick Walker, will once again be making his way to the stage in Columbus, this time in an attempt to regain his title against a formidable field, some of the IFBB's best competitors." Then, of course, follow the link below to visit arnoldsports.com to get your tickets or order the pay-per-view. So if you want to watch Nick Walker try to reclaim his Arnold Classic title and win $300,000, then go buy the pay-per-view. You can buy it pre-sale right now. The regular price is $59.99. That is discounted right now to $49.99. And if you use the code NSP10, get an additional 10% off of that $49.99. Your total will be $45. And that is the cheapest you will be able to get that pay-per-view if you buy the pre-sale now and you're ready ahead of time for the Arnold Classic weekend. Now, I still want to see Derek's name added to this Arnold Classic lineup. I want to see Derek Lunsford do it. At this point, I think Big Rami's probably out. I think Rami would have only done it if he were the favorite to win, and he would have been if Nick or Derek weren't going to do it, because Rami was 5th, Samson was 6th. But Derek right now is the main guy that's still in shape. He's ready to compete. He said he wants to do the Arnold, and he's the only guy that's placed ahead of Nick besides Hadi Chupin at the Olympia. Hadi's already back in Iran. He's not going to do it. Brandon Curry, I think, wants to be back with his family. He spent a lot of time in Kuwait this year prepping for the Olympia. He even said that was one of the big differences with this year's prep, is that he spent a lot more time overseas training than he usually does. And I think that's the reason why Brandon's not doing the Arnold. I think he wants to, spend more time at home with his family and not go straight back over to Kuwait to finish out another prep for the next 7 weeks. Now, next up in the news, we did get another physique update from another Arnold Classic competitor, and that was Akim Williams. So we got a very brief back double bicep shot posted on Akim's story at 7 weeks out. The big question with Akim always is conditioning. Now, even in this update, even though it's very short, very brief, I think he looks better than he looked at the Olympia. His conditioning to me at the Olympia was just way off. Really no definition in his lower back. And here you can see he's already got some definition in his lower back. He looks like he's in decent shape. But again, it's always a question mark with him whether or not the conditioning is going to be on point. So even with this update, I worry. But maybe we do see a better version of Akim. Maybe he does put his conditioning together for a better package at the Arnold, and maybe we could see him be a top guy. But honestly, I'm just not very optimistic because the inconsistency has been so consistent with Akim. He's consistently inconsistent. But we also did get a physique update from William Bonac at 7 weeks out from the Arnold Classic. Now, William Bonac right now, I would say, is the 2nd or 3rd favorite to win. He's a 2-time Arnold Classic champion. He was 9th at the Olympia, so he's behind both Samson and Nick. But him and Nick are the only 2 former Arnold Classic champions in this lineup. And I think in these updates, Bonac still looks pretty tight. He still looks like he's holding on to a pretty significant amount of condition from the Olympia. And I would like to see Bonac get some redemption here. I would like to see Bonac in the conversation for the win. I would like to see a call-out of Nick, Samson, Bonac, probably Clarita. I think this is a big redemption opportunity for Bonac. And again, just like everybody else, he's got 100,000 more reasons to earn that redemption at the Arnold Classic. Again, $300,000 is a massive deal in bodybuilding. Bodybuilders, I think, in terms of prize money, are vastly underpaid compared to almost any other professional athlete. It's kind of ridiculous. Again, they do make a lot of their money, probably the bulk of their money via sponsorships, guest appearances, things like that. But prize money this big is like a life-changing opportunity for a pro bodybuilder, even one that has won and placed highly for many years like William Bonac. For a guy as young as Nick Walker or Derek Lunsford, that money could be life-changing at their age. If they invested it or used it correctly, it's a life-changing opportunity for both of them. Now, next up in the news, a recent update from Patrick Moore, where he says it's almost time for him to get back on stage and that he's making his big return in 2023. Now, this is purely speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Patrick Moore's name at some point added to this Arnold Classic lineup. I think it would be a good show for him. I know a lot of people have kind of forgotten the name Patrick Moore because he's been out of the conversation for a while. But I think this would be a good comeback show for him. I just want to see this lineup a little bit thicker, and it's kind of a balancing act because you're playing this game where you don't want to have too many competitors like they had at the Olympia, but you don't want to have too few competitors. Right now you've got 7 in the Arnold Classic, and I think there's this thing of like with the first call-out, you want to have at least a couple other call-outs to compare it to make that first call-out even more prestigious. If you've only got 6 guys or 7 guys and the first call-out is 5 and then there's only like 2 or 3 guys outside of that, it's not as exciting. But when you can contextualize that first call-out by having a second and third call-out of like 5 more guys in each call-out, then you see, okay, that's how good this first call-out really was. But you don't want maybe 4 or 5, 6 call-outs. So I'd like to see a little bit more depth to this Arnold Classic lineup and a little bit more dynamics as far as things that could make it interesting. Because, again, it's a balancing act. You don't want too many guys. You don't want too few. And you don't want the first call-out to be every competitor. Because, like I said, you had 6 guys before Nick Walker announced this. Your first call-out could have just been the entire lineup. And that doesn't provide much context to how good the first call-out is. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Nick Walker joining this lineup, Chris Bumstead's torn bicep, all that good stuff. Who do you think is going to win the Arnold Classic? Who do you think is going to jump in still at this point? And make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe for more bodybuilding news like this, click that bell notification icon so you don't miss any breaking news like this. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.